The winter sun had barely risen over Port Charles, leaving the city wrapped in a gray, icy haze. The air outside General Hospital felt electrically charged, the kind of morning where everyone sensed trouble before it ever showed its face. And trouble, it seemed, was walking straight through the doors. Inside the long, gleaming corridor outside the ER, Laura Spencer's heels clicked with a sharp purpose. Her breath was short, tight with fury. She received the tip only 20 minutes earlier. Sidwell was back in town. Grant Sidwell, the elusive financier-turned-criminal who had stalked the Spencers for months, was not only back, he was inside the hospital. Laura's eyes locked on the closed door to conference room B. A security guard stood beside it, half alert and clearly nervous. "Is he in there?" Laura asked. The guard swallowed. "Yes, Miss Spencer, administration said." "I didn't ask what they said," Laura cut in. "I asked if he's in there." He nodded. Laura didn't wait for permission. She pushed the door open. Sidwell stood at the head of the room, leaning casually against the conference table as if he belonged there. His suit was sharp, charcoal gray with subtle silver threading. His eyes gleamed with icy amusement. "Mayor Spencer," he greeted smoothly. "Or would you prefer Laura? It feels more intimate." "You don't get to use my name," she snapped. She stepped closer, refusing to let her fear show. "Why are you here, Sidwell?" "Business." His smile never wavered. "A meeting, actually. I've made a generous bid to purchase several failing units of the hospital. A restructuring project. Rather heroic, really." "This hospital doesn't need you," Laura hissed. "And Port Charles certainly doesn't." Sidwell lifted a brow. "And yet here I stand." Laura lunged forward before she even realized she'd made a decision. She slammed her hands onto the table, face inches from his. "Leave," she growled, "before I throw you out myself." Sidwell's jaw ticked. His smile faltered. For the first time, his calm veneer slipped. "That," he said quietly, "would be a mistake." Their standoff grew thick with tension, until the sound of frantic barking pierced the hallway. Sidwell smirked. "Ah, sounds like your friend Rick is having fun." Laura's heart dropped. "What did you do?" Sidwell didn't answer. She raced out of the room. 2 floors below, in the West Wing, Rick Lansing found himself cornered, literally. He'd come to investigate a report of unapproved visitors entering the Veterinary Research Bay, which had been temporarily leased by a private organization. When he arrived, the door had locked behind him, alarms blaring overhead. And then the dogs arrived. 3 massive German shepherds, muscular, trained, and wearing collars marked with Sidwell's insignia, advanced toward him with slow, predatory steps. Rick backed up until he hit the far wall. "Easy," he whispered, hands raised. Hey, easy, boys." They didn't slow. Rick knew attack dogs when he saw them. Sidwell was sending a message. He scanned the room for anything he could use. A metal tray, a rolling stool, a lab coat hook on the wall, nothing useful. The first dog lunged. Rick dove sideways, crashing into a supply cart. Bottles shattered across the floor as he scrambled for footing. The dog skidded past him, claws scraping the tile like knives. The second dog pounced. Rick grabbed the metal tray, holding it out in front of him like a shield. The dog clamped its teeth into it, snarling violently. Rick staggered backward under the force of its weight, his arms trembling with effort. "Come on," he muttered through clenched teeth. "Not how I wanted to spend my morning." The third dog circled behind him. Rick felt the heat of its breath against his leg. He kicked backward hard. The dog yelped, only momentarily stunned, but it bought him seconds. He needed an exit, but the only door was locked tight. Sidwell had sealed him in. Rick knew this wasn't random. Sidwell must have discovered Rick's investigation into his offshore accounts. The man didn't take kindly to being exposed. The snarls grew louder, the pack closing in. Rick lifted the tray again. "All right," he muttered. "If it's me versus 3 genetically engineered monsters, then fine. I've had worse mornings." He hadn't, but adrenaline made anything possible. Laura reached the lower stairwell, just in time to hear a fierce metallic crash from behind the research bay door. "Rick!" she shouted, pounding on the reinforced glass. Inside, Rick turned at the sound of her voice, and that second of distraction almost cost him. One of the dogs lunged, dragging him down by his sleeve. Rick landed hard, elbow cracking against the tile. "Laura," he shouted. The lock override panel left wall. Laura spun. A small security box blinked beside the door. She ripped open the cover. Her fingers flew, entering every emergency code she knew. Denied. Denied. Access restricted. She slammed the heel of her hand against the panel. Damn it. Behind the door, Rick shouted in agony as a dog tore fabric from his shirt. Laura's pulse pounded in her ears. She stared at the lock, then at the fire extinguisher on the wall. She grabbed it. One blow shattered the panel. Sparks flew. Alarms wailed. The lock released. Laura yanked the door open. "Hey, over here," she yelled, grabbing another metal tray and banging it loudly. The dogs turned toward her. Rick groaned from the floor. "Laura, no, don't." But she was already stepping between him and the animals. "Come on," she shouted at them. "You want to fight, try me." The dogs sprinted toward her. Laura braced herself, and a deafening blast from a security air horn exploded behind her. One of the guards had arrived, sounding the high-pitched deterrent. The dogs skidded to a halt, whining, disoriented. Rick used the moment to hurl the tray across the floor. It clanged loudly, scattering the pack. The guard moved in, securing the animals with tranquilizer restraints. Rick collapsed back, panting. "Remind me to stay out of hospitals on Tuesdays." Laura knelt beside him. "Are you hurt?" "Only everywhere," he said weakly, "but I'll live." She helped him sit up, her hands shaking. "Sidwell did this." Rick nodded grimly. "He wanted me gone. He wanted you scared." "Oh, I'm past scared," Laura whispered. Her voice was steel. "I'm angry." Rick managed a pained grin. "Good, because whatever Sidwell's planning next, we're going to need all the anger we can get." Laura looked toward the flickering hallway lights, the alarms echoing through the building. "This isn't over," she said. And somewhere above them, in the shadows of the hospital's upper floors, Sidwell watched the scene unfold through a security feed, smiling.